Hey, all you Max devs. Let's talk about Editable Poly, and we'll talk about collapse inside of the tools inside of Editable Poly. Collapse you can find if you look inside of the Edit Poly vertex mode. You can see there's a collapse up here. If you come to edge mode, you'll see there's a collapse down here. It's always in edit geometry. And I would assume it's inside this one because this is just a glorified edge mode. It's just specialized. And then of course it's inside of geometry or inside of polygon. And here's a question. I don't think it's gonna be the same menu, but it doesn't show you that button is active. So what does collapse do? Basically, it takes whatever you have selected and tries to collapse it to one piece. So if I have two verts selected, it's basically a weld, if you want to think of it that way. And I say collapse, it's just going to snap those two together. Okay. If I have a poly or an edge selected and I say collapse, which I have a shortcut for, but I'll keep clicking it for now. It goes to right there. The reason I have a shortcut too is because for whatever reason I didn't put it in the quad menu. So if I say collapse with that, it's going to select that and just collapses. And it's weird, my brain still thinks of this collapse as a vert to vert. So it's just taking two edges of or two verts of this edge and collapsing them on top of each other. If I go to border, it's going to be the same thing. But if I go to polygon and I grab polygon and I say collapse, it's just going to collapse it down to one point. That's what collapse does. And the biggest use for me, for my purposes, is I grab like a loop. Let's say we do an edge loop again. And then I do a connect. Let's connect it up. Let's say 2, 3 times. And I'll turn this down to 0. Okay. So I've got 3 subdivisions. Let's say I only wanted 2. Say I only wanted one right in the middle. So I could take this edge and do a ring. So it goes all the way around it just in our loop. And then I could do a collapse. And what it'll do, snap it right to the middle because it's collapsing both sides of them to the middle. Now, the thing that you might want to pay attention to is if I do this ring again and I say collapse, it's going to go towards the middle of those two, not the middle of this. With 3, it works perfectly. So that's how I use collapse. Sometimes I cut things just to collapse them because it's a fast way of doing things. Sometimes I realize I have too many cuts after I've made a look at it, or sometimes a lot of times when I use collapse is when I'm down resing something that I've had for high res. But that's how we do that, and that's how collapse works, and we will talk to you soon. Have fun in Maxland.